Welcome back to the big issue, and a good morning to those of you who are watching us on TV as well. My name is Godfred Akoto Boafo, discussing the Galamsey issue, missing excavators, the whole drama surrounding that. If you want to share your thoughts with us, you can reach us on +233 549 986 996, +233 549 986 996, or +233 550 585832. For those of you who prefer to use Twitter, the official Twitter handle is at Citi973, hashtag the big issue. You can also reach me on at East Sportsman. That is my own Twitter handle. On the same hashtag, we're also streaming live on Facebook. So you can leave your questions and comments on Facebook. And then later on, if you want to watch a playback, you can go to our YouTube channel on CityTube, and you can catch up with all that you missed. And I'm having this show this morning with Reverend John Intimfo Joasin South, Member of Parliament, Mahama Yariga, Boku Central MP, Lawyer Yaopong, private legal practitioner, Sydney Case Leaford, financial analyst. And Reverend Intimfo Jo, you were on the floor talking about the different methods that are in place in different countries.
Absolutely, and those are matters of legislation. And I was making a point that in Ghana, the approach has been more towards reclamation, as opposed to other jurisdictions like Australia, where you'd be expected that if a piece of concession was granted you and you used it for mining, at the end of your mining activities, you ought to be able to restore that piece of concession into the fauna and the plants and every species that stock was taken off. And that is the contract that you actually obliged to, even before you are given the permit. But in Ghana, we are even lenient to say that you may not be required to do restoration to the land to make sure all the plant trees and animals found on it before you came to exploit that piece of land are restored. But however, reclaim the land and make sure that it is not harmful to the environment. And so there's legislation involved and already in place for that. And that is where fundamentally I disagree with any assertion to the fact that those that are into legitimate mining or large-scale mining or regulated mining are causing more harm than those who are doing illegal mining. That's why I fundamentally disagree. Because already, once you commit yourself into a legitimate regime, there are agencies as EPA, Minerals Commission, and other related agencies that are so mandated to ensure that your activities are monitored and any harm to the environment is checked, sanctions are applied where infractions are observed. Now, to the point, I must begin by also saying that contrary to the approach or the notion of some people that we actually borrow the earth from our children and that we do not inherit it from our ancestors. It does appear that in Ghana, the notion is as if we inherited the land and the minerals from our ancestors. And that,
but is there any difference?
We inherited the land from our ancestors, and it does appear that our children must rather beg us to leave some for them. You see, until we have a national orientation of a reversal of that notion, that and in our local communities, in our society, that orientation is there, that any property that one is bequeathed, is like your ancestors have bequeathed some properties and resources to you. One's ancestors may have bequeathed a piece of land to them, so they feel that they have inherited the land and the resources from the ancestors. But actually, in actual sense, they are borrowing it from their children. And so in mining, we must so mine responsibly such that there will be sufficient environment left and healthy enough to support the livelihood of our children and children's children, the next generations that will come after us. We must mine such that there is sufficient minerals left for our children's children to also come and mine. We must mine in a manner that all the trees will not be cut off and all the air around us will not be polluted. That is where I come to commend Citi FM for that highly laudable initiative that you took when you began so assertively the campaign against illegal mining. And what we have over the years seen, and oftentimes the media had raised tenable misgivings about, is the fact that some individuals or groups of people, or the media, for instance, may come up with a campaign that is so laudable to national development and other related benefits, and that they do not receive the needed sufficient political will from government and from the political class in order to be able to effectuate the intent and the purposes for such initiatives. In respect of the campaign, Citi FM's campaign against illegal mining, eminent support was enjoyed from President Akufo-Addo. As a matter of fact, President Akufo-Addo supported the campaign and took ownership, not just commissioning a group of people to support it, but actually took ownership, made very, very important pronouncements to the effect that he is personally committed to seeing that even if he has to put his political re-election on the line just to save the environment and just to make sure that the illegal mining space is sanitized, he will do so. So I salute the courage.
That was 2 years ago. This year, are you convinced by that?
No, I'm building a point to that. I'm building a point to Godfred. And so, if you may indulge me. And as I listened to the submissions by my good friend, Honorable Mahama Yariga, he rightly acknowledged that the approach that President Akufo-Addo took in this whole fight was the right approach. And he concedes that it's a better approach to what he had opportunity to try to espouse, and perhaps because there wasn't sufficient support or understanding of his position at the time.
I'm sitting here,
and so
I'm sitting here,
and the fact that you made that fundamental submission, and that the fact that the interministerial.
Clarify that part.
No, but you have the opportunity. But let me.
No, this is here. Let him just clarify.
Just that portion. Just that portion.
Let me. He may note it down. I've just started my submission. It's not even 2 minutes yet.
Hey, just started. 3 minutes. You just started.
So, about 10 minutes ago. And the fact the fact that the approach of coordinating the interministerial approach, interministerial sectors or agencies, and then appointing the portfolio of the Ministry of Science and Environment to coordinate or to be the chair of the such an interministerial committee is a laudable one, and is the right approach and is the best approach to this fight. Now, let us get into the discussion proper. Now, in Article 269 of the Constitution of Ghana, under the section protecting natural resources of the country, I read the first clause. Says, subject to the provisions of this Constitution, Parliament shall, by or under an Act of Parliament, provide for the establishment within 6 months after Parliament first meets after the coming to force of this Constitution of a Minerals Commission, a Forestry Commission, Fisheries Commission, and such other commissions as Parliament may determine, which shall be responsible for the regulation and management of the utilization of the natural resources concerned and the coordination of the policies in relation to them. So the activities of mining is not one that should not receive attention even from the very political class, and when such a laudable initiative has been put in place and implementation is expected to yield results. And indeed, we have seen over the years steadily, and we've had various groups and people actually assessing the impact of the fight against illegal mining, and the successes of this fight is shocking. We must encourage everyone that is involved, and every institution that is involved in this fight, to focus on every step and every action that is intended to produce the right outcomes to this fight, to ensure that we have a safe environment, we have our water bodies restored, and we have damage to health and trees and other natural resources mitigated. And if there are infractions, we single out individuals that are so involved in the infractions. If there are counter efforts by some individuals or groups of people, it is not beyond the efforts of the security agencies to bring them to order and the necessary corrective actions taken. I would not prejudice or preempt the outcome of any allegation that has been raised and associated with this fight. But I am saying, let us look back. Sometimes people are so quick to ignore the very harmful effect of mercury involved in the artisanal mining sector, small-scale mining. And people are always quick to respond that we've been in this country and Galamsey has been with us for years, and what harm has it brought? Do you know the cause of the sudden headaches that occur among young people, particularly in those mining areas, and then they take paracetamol for about 3 months, and then somebody goes off. Many people are not even able to go to the hospitals and to have comprehensive checks to be done, even to point towards the effects, how mercury had damaged some internal organs of such people. So we cannot gloss over the grave effects of some of the chemicals associated. So the fight that President Akufo-Addo has so assertively supported and spearheading is indeed not only saving the environment, but saving lives. We've seen how...
Wait, I just want to ask you, so from where you sit, and I'm sorry I'm pushing you on this, but you seem to be suggesting that there is success here.
Yes,
I'm sorry, but I disagree.
No, from my assessment,
but there is some success.
No, you can cite certain things that are undesirable and have been contained allegations associated with the fight. You can't cite that.
No, hold on.
No, you can't cite those ones, but...
Hold on.
Yes, because like you mentioned, and some of my co-panelists mentioned, there have been some allegations regarding some actions of some people in respect of this fight. But that notwithstanding, you cannot also dismiss the impact that the fight has had. I do not think that Citi FM's exercise has been in futility.
We think so.
No, it has not.
We think so.
It has not. And I can assure you. Because, is it based on empirical evidence? We are not only talking about subjective. We are talking about if a water body can be measured. We can see the pollution.
The Western region people don't have water.
And I am not saying
last year they had water.
Godfred, if you will
there were some successes that time.
If you understand me, I am not saying
they've been complaining about it for
the water in Seoul said that
Godfred, if I have your
becoming
ears,
better.
Godfred, if I have your ears,
I have your ears.
Yes, if I have your ears, and I'm still on the floor. I'm not saying that the fight against illegal mining has been concluded, and that the fight against illegal mining has been 100% successful. And I'm not even saying that all the outcomes that were tabled at the outset of the fight have all been fully accomplished. But I am saying that you cannot say for the fact that there had been some fallout in respect of the fight, you are totally dismissing the impact that this fight has had over the past 2 years. That point, for the record, must be established.
But I'm saying that, and I'm also saying that. I'm engaging you on this, so don't worry, I'll give you the time.
Absolutely.
My point is this, to assess the impact, okay, the impact was that we would have a reduction in galamsey levels. That would be the biggest measure of this. From where you sit, are you certain that the galamsey levels we had 2 years ago and the galamsey levels that we have today, as we speak, are actually better?
Oh yes, I'll confidently say so, and because
I can't fault that.
When we say galamsey, it is actually a connotation of the illegal artisanal or small scale mining. Okay. That is what simply galamsey is all about. If we are talking about the number of, if we are talking about people that are actually now going through the right procedures and then obtaining the necessary permits and doing things according to the regulations that are so enforced by Minerals Commission and EPA, I would say that we are in a better narrative today than we were some 3-4 years ago. Now, I must also state that if we are looking at some fallouts that have associated with the fight against illegal mining, i.e. some missing excavators, it is not far-fetched. Solution to this is not far-fetched. I mean, finding the locations of these excavators that have been alleged to have been missing and bringing to order people who may have been culpable in such an allegation, it's not something that is beyond the efforts of the security agencies we have in the country. And that must be decoupled from the focus on the fight. Now, let me just give you a scenario. For instance, we have free SHS that is being implemented. The fact that free SHS is successfully ongoing and being implemented, that does not immune any person who may be so found culpable as engaging in any infractions of the law in respect of the implementation of free SHS from being dealt with by the law. So these are so you must decouple the matters and engage on the fight assertively. We must not throw out the dirty water with the baby and say that because there may have been some allegations which I support and I call. We must come to a point in time where we must put away political polarization and for it not to cloud, matters of legal procedures and matters of public interest, like I indicated in the second quote that I gave. So the earth is what we all have in common, whether NDC, MPP, or apolitical. The earth is what we all have in common. The environment is what we all have in common. The gold, the minerals, the trees, that is what we all have in common. And so in matters to do with that, you do not even want to bring political favors or disfavors. And so
for me.
Anyone that the law will take its course and it is found culpable or establishing or any form of complicity on their part, whether they are NDC, whether they are MPP, whether they are apolitical, we have the laws that will deal with them. But we must decouple these isolated fallout from the general success and positive impact the fight against illegal mining has yielded.
Thank you very much. Reverend Johnny Timfojo, he seems to think that is one. Let me say, Sydney Slaford, I'll give you final take on this. But Honorable Aiga wanted to make a few points.
My take, and I'm sure he listened on his way here, but probably didn't listen to all of it. I said one, that the decision to make the Environment Ministry the coordinating ministry, or the minister, the coordinator of the Interministerial Committee, for me was a laudable one. Of course, that is purely, I believe, from a selfish point of view, being the immediate past Minister for Environment. But then I said the macho approach where we unleashed soldiers on citizens who were engaged in what I thought was an effort to mine, but hampered by bottlenecks that our bureaucracy had created in the system. I said that approach will not work because those people resist and try to continue the mining activity. And so you needed to deal with those issues. And that was why I cited how there were allegations of the soldiers being complicit. There were allegations of district assemblies being complicit. Now there are allegations of top government officials being complicit, allegations of ministers being complicit, both in forest reserves and ordinary, mining areas. So I then indicated that that kind of system just creates an opportunity for one political group to encumber a sector and just turn it into another dividend for political victory.
You seem to be repeating all the submissions earlier.
And I indicated that we'll be receiving complaints. That whole idea of stop everybody, now select people, go and train them, issue them with licenses, and then build their capacity to do it legally. That whole process, from the complaints that I received as a former Minister of Environment from people who are in the sector, was characterized by a lot of political favoritism. Okay. And just as we see in many sectors of our economy. And the reality is that really we didn't succeed in stopping Galamsey, especially given how much we spent on it. On one occasion, we budgeted 50 million Ghana cedis for the activities of the committee and then the soldiers.
No, you've made these points already.
And so you can multiply that by the number of years to a point where we bought all these drones. That couldn't just, spot a 7-acre, this 17-acre, location. So clearly, this whole project has been a colossal failure.
It's a repetition of the same points you have made.
And for me, I was laughing when the president tied his political fortunes to succeeding in Galamsey. I think it's a very easy thing that he could actually succeed in doing if he really wants to do it. But the approach hasn't really yielded results. I'm not discounting some arguments that he has made that, in my opinion, are sound. That perhaps we shouldn't overblow the instances of lapses in the administration of the program. Perhaps we need a more empirical mechanism for determining success. And it just struck me that yes,
perhaps Parliament can help us by reviewing the IMSIM.
Not just that, the people on the ground, the EPA and the Minerals Commission, should have, at the start of the initiative, plotted the locations of illegal mining operations. Today, they should come and tell us whether there are still mining activities at those locations and whether they have been formalized by being issued with licenses, and whether the EPA is on top of the job monitoring those people and ensuring that even though mining is taking place, that they are complying with environmental standards.
Okay.
And of course that we should have had some independent, credible body monitoring water quality on the major rivers over a period of time, so that that data will today inform the debates that we're engaging here
Absolutely.
to see whether indeed there has been success. It's possible that there was success, but that, like in many other instances, the lack of data, the lack of accurate information, and our tendency to politicize almost every debate can cloud the successes. But sitting where I sit, knowing what I know, and being assessed by people in the sector and receiving the complaints, I can vouch that there hasn't been any significant success.
Point made. Sydney is here for.
Okay,
let me go to Sydney.
Sydney
is here for good
people
morning.
in the sector. Is it Galamsey's his contact?
Of course. Constituents. I was a former minister of environment. And I have people who are in the sector. And I call to ask.
Will be better.
Rev, don't you know the Galamsey's?
No, the honorable.
Let me tell you something. Even when I was a minister, listen. Let me tell you. Let me give you an example.
Sydney is waiting
his contact within the.
Let me tell him that even when I was a minister for environment, even when I was a minister for environment, and I decided to tour Galamsey sites, before going there, I sent an advance team to go and convince them not to run away when I come. Because what happens is that when an official is coming to the site, they run away. You can't really understand what is happening there. So I had a program where I got a special team and sent them to go and convince the activists at the site.
You asked him a question.
That don't run when I come. Because I'm not coming to arrest you. I'm not coming there with any police officers and soldiers. It was just my personal bodyguard. And I even then insisted that he shouldn't wear military uniform. I used to go with a military officer as my
my question was actually for the human.
And so, the point I'm making is that even when I was minister, I made sure that I had direct contact because I wanted to understand the psychology of the actors in order to be able to, design a solution that addresses the problem. If you don't understand it, you just recruit soldiers and give them uniform and say, run and go. They'll go and join them instead and come back and give very beautiful reports.
Sydney is here for you on the floor.
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I followed the conversation as I was coming. I'm sorry I'm late.
No worries.
You see, the real issue here is that these politicians and government appointees, especially those who are institutional heads of the Minerals Commission, etc., they're all wasting our time.
But we can't do without them, can we?
We should do without them. How can you set up a Minerals Commission, appoint somebody, pay them a salary, give them all the perks that they require? They are virtually looked after by us lavishly. And you can't solve this problem?
But you've always said it's a livelihood issue.
It is a livelihood issue, and that's why you address it, and that's why you have to address it from there. All right? Yao was very, very clear, and, I don't often agree with him with everything he says. In fact, he gets quite upset with me when I disagree with him. God is good. But on this score, we are so... I really want to use some harsh words today and some swear words because I've reached a point on this where I think those who have been responsible over the time must accept responsibility that they have failed and they are failures. Galamsey has been with us since it was termed Galamsey because it wasn't. It didn't exist. Somebody came up and coined. Somebody came and coined the term Galamsey and said it is illegal to do Galamsey. Why is it legal for Ashanti gold fields to be deep mining and heap leaching? Because they have money, and your small artisanal laborer has no money, so his activity is illegal. What is it that makes a small-scale miner who is not at the level of Ashanti gold fields but who can bring in the excavators and the mining equipment and everything? What is it that makes his activity legal?
Let me
And not the activity.
You let Sydney go.
And not the activity and not the activity of an artisan who is trying to make a living for themselves. Why does his activity, okay, of simply excavating a small portion and digging whatever it is at his own peril and risk, what is it that makes his activity illegal?
Okay.
When the only difference here,
I have an answer.
the only difference here is legislation. Somebody has legislated for large-scale mining. They've legislated for what they call small-scale mining. And then artisanal mining, which has more people employed and engaged in legal activity, or at least an attempt to make their lot better. Why do you make their activity illegal and deprive them of a livelihood? What do you want them to do? They should stop the mining, and you say they should go and do farming. Fine. But people don't just get up and you push them to stop something and go and do something else when they haven't decided that's what they want to do. But if you are saying they should go and do it as a living, they must want to do it as a living. They must want to do it as a living. Prostitutes are not prostituting because you are forcing them to prostitute. They are prostituting because they are caught in a situation where they have to do it. And you become a prostitute to a certain extent because you do it because you want to do it to make a living. So I can't understand what the block is. All right? What is the block? That we can't sit down as a country, put up a select committee, a group, and say, let's look at this and let's fix it. Let's look at this and let's fix it. Let's look at this and let's fix it. I was watching a documentary yesterday on the after impact of Katrina in the New Orleans, Louisiana area, and there was a follow-up from Australia. Okay, they actually have an institution whose job is to check the control of the malaria of mosquito and malaria. They actually have. Because they've identified it as a major concern. We have malaria problem here, and all we do is we go and buy drugs from the West, and we come and administer it
and spray,
and then we monitor whether or not the incidence of malaria is going up or coming down. There's a disconnect. There is some stupidity that tells us that we are not sitting down to think through our problems and solve our problems. All right? Mr. Yariga and myself here now sit and have an amicable exchange. All right? For a long time, when he was Minister for the Environment and doing his thing, I just didn't like him one tiny bit, and I won't hesitate to say so because I said so openly before.
That is his job. While he was doing his job, not him personally.
Yes, not him personally. The job and the whole NDC machinery. All right? But the thing is this. I asked him...
the source of the hatred. Is the machine that he has a problem with, and I asked him as he sits
down here today. I asked him as he sits down today, why could he not solve the Galamsey problem when he was minister?
I think he addressed that when he started his submission.
Look, irrespective of all the excuses you give, whether it was because of political interference or that or the political will and the loss of votes that they clamor for all the time, I ask him again, why did he not have enough courage to fix it? You complain about standards not being monitored and we don't know how many galamseys there are and Why didn't you put the standards in place when you had the authority and the power? He could have done it. He was a minister. He could have called his head of Minerals Commission and say, you are not going to do anything else and I'm not releasing your budget until you sort this problem out. But he didn't do it. And today he's complaining with us. Now, Reverend Intim has come to join us. All right? He's a mining engineer by education. Now he has gone and become a reverend. I don't know what Reverend has got to do with that. You see, I want to make this point very, very clear. And now he's gone and he's become an MP. All right? So where is the benefit of all that he has learned and that he has been trained and educated for as a minerals and mining engineer? What are we going to get from it when he sits in Parliament? If he's on the minerals committee or something in Parliament, isn't it about time that they insisted in Parliament that there have to be standards? You're talking about water bodies not being monitored. We don't know how polluted the water bodies are. What are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? Coming to sit here on radio and talking about it and displaying and demonstrating your knowledge is not fixing the problem. It is not fixing the problem. All right? When we started the campaign on the Galamsey, which Occupy Ghana has been involved in it passionately from the beginning. Okay? One of the first things we said, you need to monitor the standards of water quality. So we will know. Because some of the water that gets turbid as you go through is not because of Galamsey activity. Sometimes it's just heavy rainfall, which generates the turbidity. So you need to make that distinction. But most importantly, you need to know exactly where the Galamsey operations are happening or whatever small-scale mining is happening and the quality of the water as we go forward. That was 2 years ago.
But that is done. What the issue, though, the question perhaps you might want to ask then is, do they ask for the data? Because we do know that the Water Research Institute does very, very up-to-date water tests. If you need data today on the quality of water from anywhere in the country today, you will get it from
But they are public officers. Why can't they also make it available?
No, I know what it is.
No, but I'm saying that. Why can't they make it available to all of us?
You are not a public officer.
No, you know what I'm saying?
You are in the business of inquiring and making news.
So I'm
That's
saying
what you
they
do.
should know. I'm just trying to tell them that if they want to know, they would know.
Who, Parliament?
Yes.
Of course they will know if they want to know. But Parliament is not...
Stay on track.
I'm not going to go into contempt again. I'm not going to go into contempt again. The gentleman who cited me for contempt has lost his seat.
That's it.
So that's a caution to anyone who may potentially...
So somebody else might want to step up. You see? But when I hear talk that they bring pastors, reverend ministers, and these witch doctors to come and pray for them that they will survive in their venture in mining the minerals, I get totally upset with that nonsense.
But how does that affect anything?
It affects everything because you should be able to see immediately that you are dealing with a class of illiterates.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yes, you're dealing with a class of illiterates that they go underground, all right, and pray for guidance.
The superstition is just so absurd.
It's way too much.
So absurd.
It's way too much. And you see, it's again, you see, I fault our parliament so much. All right? I fault our parliament so much because parliament has so much authority, so much power, okay, to do so much about all of these things. Look, I've advocated for a long time that anybody who curses anybody in this our society or pinpoints somebody and says it is your stepmother who is causing all of these problems, all right? And the person who is pinpointed and who is fingered as such suffers some kind of calamity out of a psychological impact of being told this. It is a crime. You see, it is for me, those things are a crime. And the fact that our parliament sits there, okay, and the only excuse they have is that we don't have a private member's bill which we can sponsor onto the floor, and the Constitution has not made provision for a private member's bill. You have the authority and the power and the right to make that amendment and bring a private member's bill to the floor so you can fix that problem. Remedy it. Remedy it so we can move forward, and and individuals, myself and whoever else it is, can also bring bills to Parliament. But we are stuck in this whole nonsense of it's not in the Constitution, and the Constitution is silent on it, and the Constitution doesn't talk about it, and therefore, for the rest of time, the Constitution doesn't say anything.
Thank you very
and parliamentarians
much,
just sit there and don't do anything about it.
Yes, thank you very much. Hold on, I'll give everybody time. Don't worry, I'll give everybody time. I am managing and deferring. You see, sometimes I defer to Honorable Ayariga based on the role he's held. He sat in the office. He knows. He has the data. He's seen it before. That is why sometimes I defer to him on this matter. Lawyer Pong, let me just...
Yes, so quickly, and I thank Sydney for
I'll
that.
end this topic with Reverend.
See, I still insist that we should not take away or take our minds off these mining companies. You see, we are talking about Galamsey because we see the damage, no doubt about it. The damage that these institutions, by the activities, also cause us, it sometimes occurs underground. There is data, there's information about how some of these institutions may even divert water courses. Of course, the Minerals Act gives them some permission to do so, which is one of the laws that I've always insisted should be amended. Why the law has given, I think, Section 17 or so of the Minerals and Mining Act, giving these big companies permit to divert the source of the water from the underground. You see, then number two, I know of a place in the Achimere and Tronai, 1942 or so, there were big companies extracting minerals, and they were using those days cyanide. Mm-hmm. There's a place they call it Senate, and there you see that the cassava there looks a bit emaciated, but very sweet. You remember Obuasi and Kawo?
Yeah.
These are all the effect that those activities which occurred over 50 years ago are now resurfacing. The headache you talk about, go to those places. It is not just only the activities, current activities. These are the
historic, decade-old
activities. They are traceable to those activities they engage in over 60 years ago. So let us not be in delusion that it is only those we see. That is the only concern that we should direct our attention to.
Right.
It is more serious when they occur underground. And again, I think that we have to also admit that there have been some successes. I mean, I used the Odabrim River, which I saw myself as an example. And my worry is, why are we blaming the person who said, I'm going to solve the problem, and not those who are engaged in the problem and those who failed to solve it? Because before 2017, this problem was there. That is why it was declared to be a national interest matter, a national security issue. So if we were unable to solve it then, there's an attempt to solve it, even if it has not achieved all the expected successes. I think it is rather unfair that we rather turn our attention to the person who has even put his political successes or maybe objective on the line and failing. We are talking about maybe wasted, budgeting this and budgeting that. We did not budget then to solve the problem.
But is it perhaps the worry then is also, and that's something perhaps Honorable Ayariga alluded to, the fact that then it was everybody was engaged in it. Now the perception is you've stopped everybody, and it is only you and your friends who are enjoying it. It's not true.
I mean,
I'm saying that is the perception that creates the problem.
No, I'm responding.
As I said,
it exists.
The point is. So is it wrong today because only a few people, only a selected people are engaging? But then
you didn't come to solve the problem at all. You simply just came in to move everybody and take over.
That's what I'm saying, that there is evidence that there have been some successes.
Okay.
And Honorable even admits to that at least you make sense. But as he said, I think sometimes too, we just get disappointed with the way some of the public officers. Also, so this whole debate could have ended and they have data on specific areas where the so-called illegal mining activities are being engaged in. Then
Then you come back to the point I made that we all know who the main Galamsey people in this country are.
My point.
Which one of them has been prosecuted?
No, my point is, so if people who are supposed to prosecute are not doing so, number one, there have been cases in court where citizens of Ghana who have observed commissions of crime, even one person was in court to say that I never said this and I never signed it, or I signed it. But anyway, no. So my point is, let us also hold our public officers accountable. You mentioned Minerals Commission. I mean, people have been put there, so let them bring the data. Now, before the campaign started, these were the water bodies or the communities where the activities of so-called illegal miners have destroyed the extent of it. Now we have gone back, and as I said, the water company came out with an assessment that some of the rivers, the Ankobra or the Zidoti, were getting better. And I'm saying that I can confirm about the Odan, the Brim, but when I went recently, I can still admit that it is getting bad again. The point is not that there has not been an initiative, but the people have not also supported it, and it goes back to the livelihood issue. Let us not declare these things, these activities illegal just because they have not been licensed. But I disagree that because these big companies have been giving licenses.
I can see today you and the big companies have an issue.
Because I have lived. Because I live in these communities.
Let me go to Honorable Intim Fojo. 2 minutes quickly.
There have been some fundamental points that Sydney has raised that I fully associated with, and some that I also disagree. And he has invoked 2 of my professions. But anyway, just to fundamentally correct the point Sydney makes, that what makes activities of small-scale miners illegal. We are not saying that everyone involved in artisanal mining or small-scale mining is illegal, and that we are clamping down on them. There's a whole framework of the law that even gets protection for people to responsibly mine in that sector. In the artisanal small-scale mining, and there's full protection. There's a full protection for them. So if you do not do it according to the framework set out for artisanal small-scale mining, that's what makes it illegal, and that is what is called Galamsey. So no one is in doubt disputing that. The activities of small-scale miners should be stopped, and that is not what the campaign of Citi FM sought to do, and that is not what President Akufo-Addo has sought to do. As a matter of fact, on many occasions and many platforms, President Akufo-Addo has emphatically pronounced that he is not in to stop mining. However, he is for regulating the space for responsible and sustainable mining. So that point must be cited. Now, as a mineral engineer, and having expertise in matters to do with extraction and environment, and being a member of parliament, and of course my most gratified, job as a clergy or as a pastor, which I will never retire from until the Lord calls me, should not be conflicted in any way. And I cannot say that because I'm not on the Mines and Energy Committee, or because I am not perhaps a former Minister of Environment or Natural Resources, or a current Minister of Mining or Natural Resources or Environment, I cannot, express my opinion and offer, my opinion into what will contribute to the national discourse, into
Sydney
what
is saying perhaps you should do it a lot more forcefully in Parliament.
But if Sydney has been following my contributions in Parliament, both within Parliament and outside Parliament, he would acknowledge that I do not sit until I have an official position to something before I contribute. Yesterday, I stood very firmly.
Yes, I'm going to defer to you on that matter.
An area that many people run away from.
About Australia.
Many people run away from.
We could also introduce them in Parliament to affect, including insurance. Including insurance and guarantees.
I hardly even come on these platforms. But I come in when something very important must be expressed. However, my impact and my expertise is fully being brought to bear in Parliament and not being just boxed into official position. I will not wait for position to be able to contribute my quota for this environment to be safe, for mining to be done responsibly. So that I can assure Sydney on that.
Thank you. But I need to read messages.
But just before the messages, for the fact that Sydney has invoked my pastoral, I must quote the scripture. Psalm 24 says, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the earth and they that dwelleth therein. For he has founded it upon the seas and established it upon the floods. Then constitutionally, we are saying that the minerals in the earth belongs to the people of Ghana and vested in the president of Ghana in trust on behalf of the people of Ghana.
Thank you very much. Let me take a message and then Honorable Ayega has another. Then we move on to discuss the banking and Airbus. Now, Airbus, you see, Airbus, I'm deferring to you and not Honorable Ayega. So you see, calm down here.
You can do that way.
All right, a few messages here. Are we actually sure we have made successes in this fight? I watched news on Citi TV, and the rivers are polluted in such a way that Ghana Water Company is crying for help. Please play that for your panelists to watch. This is Roxanne from Ajiri, Ghana. Good morning to you and your panelists. Let's not try to run down Professor Frimpong Boafo because some people want to do so for political reasons. Why don't you want to hear from the prof? To me, he's a man of integrity. How can a person of high repute in a previous government say Galamseys will have nothing to eat when they are stopped? Sule Mumuni from Navrungu. Well, Sule, let me just tell you this. Bernard Avle has tried several times to interview Professor Frimpong Boafo. The whole week, when we said it on radio, we've been trying to get him to speak on this matter. We haven't heard from him yet. Apparently, there's a press conference coming up where the ministry says they will address some of these issues, and that is why he's not speaking. So it's not as if attempts have not been made to speak to Professor Frimpong Boafo. But this week he says...
Who is his duty to?
So Walanyo in Akwetia says, if for nothing at all, the president took a bold decision and vowed to put his presidency on the line to fight Galamsey to protect our environment. But the president should also allow the law to bite anybody who is crooked and is involved in the excavators going missing. Former President Mahama should also come out and clear the air on this Airbus saga, else he will be tainted as the most corrupt president Ghana has ever produced. Good morning to you and your panelists. Okay, so those are a few of the messages that have come in. Let me just take one. More Prince Henry from Kofodia says, President Akufo-Addo should sack all his appointees who have allegedly engaged in Galamsey, including all the MMDCs whose areas have been affected. If only he wants Ghanaians to believe that he is ready to fight Galamsey. How can excavators get missing when these are not mobile phones that can just be put into pockets and moved around? So that is a big question. And I fully support, his suggestion. We should ask the MMDCs some questions because these things were supposed to be packed at their offices, in the various districts and metropolitan assemblies, but that did not happen.
If we had voted the MMDCs
there you go. I knew we'd find a government to get there.
We would vote them out. We would vote them out immediately.
A minute quickly and then I can discuss Airbus.
Well, Parliament, if we assess the problem, and the problem is that we don't have an adequate legislative regime covering the sector, that's the responsibility of Parliament. But no one across this table has said that we don't have an adequate regulatory regime to deal with mining in Ghana. So your bashing of Parliament really doesn't come in. The second responsibility of Parliament to monitor executives. You come, you ask for money, you say you want to set up a committee, an interministerial committee, you want to engage soldiers, you want to engage who, you need money. Parliament says, we all are committed to the fight. How much money do you need? So I need 50 million this year. We give you 50 million.
Next year they come, you won't assess. You will not assess how it was used.
Yeah, let him speak.
We do assess.
So you assess and accepted that they've done some good job and added more money to them.
We do assess. We do assess. Committees go to the field and check. And then we, take ministers
Parliament was satisfied.
Questions. So the point is this, that, once you're taking Parliament on, you are leaving the big fish. The president himself, who committed to do it and put his job on the line and said, I will put my job on the line to get this thing done. People are saying that the thing hasn't been done.
The president
and all you can do is to find Parliament, to think the Parliament is culpable, but the president is not culpable.
The president doesn't pass laws.
Okay. No, why are you talking about the problem of laws? It's not about the actions of a legal regime.
You continue to give monies out.
For me,
our money's out.
For me,
if
my
you're not
assessment.
satisfied, why were you adding
and
more
then
money
about
to
the mines,
it?
the big mines. This is your bashing of big mines.
I'm not bashing them.
No, in all fairness
if
to
you come
them,
from such communities,
in all fairness to them, and I oversaw the environmental sector, so I know that no mine will divert a water body without an EPA permit.
But that is what I said.
Listen,
I question the law itself.
But what is wrong with it? Before EPA will issue the permit, they would have done an environmental impact assessment and come to a conclusion that, yes, they should do so. I recall that when I was there, even the water emitted from the mines, we insisted that they must treat the water before discharging the water back
that's what
into
is
the
done
environment.
every day on daily basis.
And
so
some of the big mines were doing it. And I went there a couple of times to inspect the machines that were treating water. And
Some
I can
of
mention
them.
the mines. I mean, those that I
yes,
visited.
fine.
every
Yeah.
mine on daily basis,
excuse me,
on hourly basis, there are
I'm not
samples
here
taken,
to-
measured. If you flat it,
No, but the point is this.
so unless you have evidence to adduce that this mining
There
or
are-
this mining company,
I'm not going to sit here
having
to mention
infrastructure.
names, but
Otherwise,
I'm saying
it will
that
be unfair
there
on
are even cases. There are
The
even
particular
cases
mine's
in
name
court.
was mentioned. That was what
sorry.
I got concerned about. That you mentioned the Ashanti Goldfields, and I'm saying
I didn't mention Ashanti Goldfield.
He spoke
mentioned-
about it.
That
About
mentioned earlier.
there was a situation in Obuasi regarding oranges. That is what he mentioned.
No, not him. not him.
the underground
Sydney,
submission
when he
was somehow
started
related
mentioned
to.
Ashanti Goldfields.
I mentioned Ashanti Goldfields because they're a big miner.
Yes, in connection with pollution, I'm saying that the mines take those things very seriously. Because they don't just get monitored by
No,
EPA locally, they also get monitored
You're
internationally.
misrepresenting
what
me.
he said.
I said that why do you have a law for large scale mining? For example,
That
why
allows them to mine and-
what allows
and
Ashanti
chase the
Goldfields
big-
to
chase the
mine?
small
Is it
person.
because they
That's what
have
I
money?
answered.
Is it because they are rich?
There's also a law for small
There's
scale
a law
miners.
for small scale mining.
Yes.
There's a law
The
for
same
small
law, the same law that
Absolutely.
provides for the large scale
there is
also
a
provides
law
for small
for
scale.
small
There is a
scale
law
miners.
for small scale mining. There is no law for artisanal mining.
There
Well,
is.
that is small
But he
scale.
spoke
I don't know,
about
it's not small
he
scale.
spoke about mining
Small
companies
scale.
in Australia.
Fine.
If they
Let's
were
not-
not causing
let me-
environmental
let me
problems,
start
why
here.
were they asking them
Gentlemen.
to be planting trees and restoring antelopes and so
Let me-
on?
let me-
So,
let me- you
and
can-
you are, you know,
Reverend, you
you
can-
ensure
Reverend,
that it is also
do
captured
you
in
want
the
to
law.
discuss your
I
bill or not?
fundamentally raised that point.
If there is a law,
But
if there is a law,
You have a request.
if there is a
Yes,
law
you see,
governing
we have a
artisanal
problem
mining,
with this matter. So-
if
So
there is
let
a
me
law,
let us to discuss
the
your
matter.
Let us proceed.
if there's a law
What is the
guiding
request?
artisanal
Simply,
mining,
no,
then let's
he spoke up in- he
answer.
spoke in Parliament
Let's
yesterday.
answer. Let's
Yes.
answer
But
Godfred's
his
question.
government has
that-
been
I have a
accused.
question.
He doesn't
No,
have
you-
the
you-
right
you asked the
to
question
respond
that
first.
if-
His government has been accused.
Gentlemen,
If there is a law and we know the
Of
people
course.
who are breaking
And
the
all
law,
was
why has
accused,
nobody
you
been
don't have the
arrested?
opportunity to respond.
it's okay, gentlemen. Let me move on. Let me move on.
overflog this matter.
Let
so-
me move on. Reverend, you can't tell me that on my show.
Oh, I can't say we are
My
overflowed.
apologies.
This is not Parliament.
My apologies. I'm not immune here at all.
We have our,
Thank you very much.
lots of privileges here as well.
My lawyer is here.
We even have a rule which you are breaking, that we don't address parliamentarians here as honorable. We don't recognize
All right.
anything
So
honorable here.
let me discuss
Actually,
Airbus.
outside Parliament,
Yeah, I mean,
call him to
I'm
go.
for you. So that's
Yes.
That's the rule.
But let me discuss Airbus, because that is also another big one. And yesterday, the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Kwe, put on hold a request for the House to probe the Airbus issue. Now, the House approved an agreement for the purchase of the, three Casa 295 military aircraft after debate in 2011. Now, based on the recent judgment of the court in the UK and also from the investigation by the Department of Justice, our Reverend Johnny Timfojo was in Parliament yesterday and suggested that Parliament probe the matter in full. But after an hour of debate, the Speaker ruled that the matter be put on hold and be revisited owing to the complexity of the issue. So you'll come back to that matter. But let me, I'll come to you, Reverend, in a bit. But Sydney, just quick thoughts on this whole Airbus thing that came up. Quick.
Oh, I think you should allow me to speak last, because what I have to say about this thing,
Start.
He wants to listen to the politicians.
I want to listen to the
Start.
politicians and
No,
see
you
where they
start.
start.
You start.
Eh?
You start.
No, we can start if it's
Yeah,
not
let them-
possible.
yes,
You
let
can
them-
Okay.
Let them vote.
right to
Let them have their bite,
No,
because
no problem there. Then let me start with the man who wants the probe. Reverend.
no. He could. He could.
No, you started to make
I can respond,
Fair
please.
Why is everybody running away from Airbus?
You are the complainant. So you okay? Let the complainant.
No, it's okay.
Godfred, let me
Please give
say-
me the opportunity.
Okay,
Let me state
Because the
here
issues are known.
that
Issues are known, so there's nothing new
That's-
that he might.
there's a fundamental concern here which been Sydney pointed to, that Parliament must be seen to be up and doing. Parliament must be seen as, invoking its inquisition powers. Parliament must be seen as enforcing the accountability powers vested in that institution, and the fact that we exercise oversight over the executive. When you turn to Article 181 of the Constitution, which I state, Parliament may, by a resolution supported by the votes of a majority of all members of Parliament, authorize the government to enter into an agreement for the granting of a loan out of any public fund or public account. Now, there is also another clause 2. An agreement entered into under clause 1 of this article shall be laid before Parliament and shall not come into operation unless it is approved by resolution of Parliament. And 3, no loan shall be raised by the government on behalf of itself or any other public institution or authority otherwise than by or under the authority of an act of Parliament. Now, reference Hansard, the fourth series of Hansard, column 322 of the July 20th, 2011. It captures clearly that a motion was tabled before Parliament, and the then chairman of the Select Committee on Finance moved the House for an adoption of reports of a joint committee of the Committee on Finance and Defense and Interior, and there were 3 items that the motion contained, and I have the motion here. Financing agreement between the government of the Republic of Ghana and Brazilian Development Bank for an amount of $105,370,177 to finance the purchase of 1 Embraer 190 aircraft, integrated logistics support, and the construction of 1 hangar for the Ghana Armed Forces. B, credit agreement between the government of Ghana and the Dutch Bank Sociedad Anónima Española, Spain, for an amount of €60,034,636 for the Ghana Armed Forces. And then C, credit agreement between the government of Ghana and the Fidelity Bank of Ghana Limited, for an amount of €11,750,000, Ghana Cities equivalent, to finance the acquisition of 2 DA-42 MMP Guardian Surveillance aircraft for the Ghana Armed Forces.
Okay.
So this is contained in Hansard.
Okay.
Now, on the judicial pronouncement that was given by the USA court, the district court for the District of Columbia, and also by the Crown Court
Southwark
of Southwark, United Kingdom, reference was made to a particular paragraph which I want to quote. Individual 1, and I quote, Individual 1 was influential in having the government of Ghana approve aircraft purchases, and Individual 1 contacted Airbus senior executives during the government approval process in 2011. During Individual 1's time in office, the Ghanaian Parliament approved the purchase of C-295 aircraft.
Okay.
Now, when a matter of judicial pronouncement of no less institutions as the UK Crown Court of the United Kingdom and the USA District Court for the District of Columbia, and making these serious allegations, and carefully and cautiously, I would choose my words carefully, allegations. Allegations that are pointing to complicity on the part of Ghanaian officials. It is a serious indictment. And you see, there have been times when you would hear accusations and allegations. It is only an inquiry that will form the path to exoneration. If the persons so accused or the persons so suspected are indeed having no complicity. It is only inquiry that will set the path to exoneration. Okay. So now, there are 2 interests that I fundamentally have on behalf of the good people of Asinsa constituency that I represent. And as a public servant, this matter is a matter of public interest because on 31st of January 2020, when the two publications of the judicial pronouncements were published widely, it caused Ghana, in no doubt, in serious international embarrassment. And Ghana is a country we all know is highly reputed among the Committee of Nations, and if you're Ghanaian, you travel out there, and the moment you're identified as Ghanaian, the respect and that people accord you. And so some of these matters, and in international relations, you know, there's an assertion that there is no event in the international system that is insignificant. Every action and every event in the international system has serious international relations consequences. Now, under Order 72 of the Standing Orders of Parliament, and I may read, by the indulgence of the House and leave of Mr. Speaker, a member may, at the time appointed for statement under Order 53, Order of Business, explain a matter of personal nature or make a statement on a matter of urgent public importance. On a matter of urgent public importance. Fortified by this order, I came on this order to make a statement. My statement, for the record, went through all the appropriate procedures and was duly endorsed by the majority leader and was duly admitted by the Speaker of Parliament. And for the record, in the ruling of the Right Honourable Speaker, he asserted and clarified and indeed stated that his outfit, the Right Honourable Speaker, duly admitted the statement and was duly endorsed by the leader of the House. Now,
what was the decision?
I want to ask.
What was the decision of?
He has deferred.
No, but the ground for deferring, I think that
he said it was a complicated issue.
So,
I read that.
So let him. I read a portion, and I think for the purpose of time, let me read.
Because I wanted to ask you why you
inquiry.
brought this before Parliament when the President had asked the Special Prosecutor.
Let me answer that question even before I read my conclusion. The answer to that is that Parliament, as a legislative arm of government, is an independent institution. We must all be mindful of that. That Parliament is an independent institution. And so there is no matter of public interest that the inquisition powers of Parliament precludes it from investigating. And also to the fact that I made reference to Hansard capturing a motion that was duly ratified by Parliament, which has culminated into this brouhaha. We must be concerned that there's an international judicial pronouncement that has made reference to Parliament. Okay. And as a Parliament, as an institution, we will sit unconcerned. We will not want to take action to exonerate even the institution of Parliament. And if there are any persons, whether related to Parliament or not, for the fact that they are government officials, allegedly government officials designated so, and with a description that they were elected government official within a period of 2009 and 2016. We want to be able to get to the conclusion so that it is established that on one hand no complicity exists, and that reference even made in the judicial pronouncement was even out of place, for which the necessary actions and corrective measures are taken to restore the name of the institution of Parliament and the name of Ghana, for that matter in general, such that Ghanaian government officials, past or present, will have their confidence high whenever they are conducting business on behalf of the people of Ghana. Right. So long as individual 1, government official 1, intermediary 5 remain mysteries, which is not beyond inquiry, where will be the opportunity of exoneration if such persons who feel that the moment this statement was mentioned, the discomfort and all that the posturing of discomfort, and in Ghana, and I would even want to localize in Ghana, when you're communicating, your posturing even tells it all. Your mannerism, the body language even speaks volumes more than what you're speaking to. So now, in conclusion, what I sought to do was this. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, with due regard for the
reading from the statement you...
Yes, the statement I made. Yeah. With due regard for the diligent commitment exhibited by President Akufo-Addo in respect of the judgment by the UK and USA courts in relation to the Airbus SE bribery scandal, as demonstrated by promptly charging the Office of the Special Prosecutor to collaborate with its UK counterpart to conduct inquiry into determining the complicity or otherwise of any Ghanaian government official, past or present, and to take the necessary action required by the Ghanaian law. I, in the spirit of patriotism, do accordingly implore the House to explore our legitimate option fortified by Order 191, and here I emphasize, to explore our legitimate option fortified by Order 191 of the Standing Orders of the Parliament of Ghana to conduct inquiry into the matter as an independent institution to establish complicity or otherwise of Ghanaian government officials, past or present, relative to this Airbus scandal. So where in this statement and where in this conclusion should it be misconstrued as a substitute for Order 191?
So what was the decision?
I want to establish these fundamentals so that...
Because of time. So just tell us what the speaker...
The speaker decided. Speaker ruled.
Yeah, I want to know the ground.
So Speaker ruled that, yes, and in his words, yes, the inquisition powers of Parliament in any matter, from archaeology to zoology, on matters of public interest, cannot be encapsulated. And so this matter of public interest is well within the remits of our authority to conduct inquiry into. So my request is rightly placed. However, giving regard to certain technical prerequisites, and also mindful of the fact that President Akufo-Addo has directed the Office of the Special Prosecutor to begin an inquiry. Let us stand this request down, not dismissing the request.
Okay.
And then see how the outcome or the goings on of the inquiry requested by the President will go. And at any point in time in due season, this matter may be revisited. If the House so determines at another time that
I'm not satisfied,
we need to constitute an ad hoc committee to look into the matter, the House may so take that decision.
All right, thank you very much. I'll take a quick break.
I'll take a technical and complex issue.
It's very technical. Be right back. So you need to take your time.
Anything is beyond Parliament.
Welcome back to the big issue, and you can continue sending your messages. +233 549 986 996 +233 549 986 996. That is our WhatsApp line, and I will read your messages. I also get to Twitter in a while and take some messages from there. So let me go to the other side of the House, and then I'll go to Lawyer Opo and Syndicate Sleaford on this Airbus matter. Certainly, the MPP seem to have laid this at the doorsteps of your party, saying you have to identify who government official one is. What have you made of the judgments that emerged from the UK and the US on this whole matter?
I've heard all the discussions, the long narrative of my honorable, my brother here. When I was in the O-level, we read a book written by Shakespeare called Much Ado About Nothing. Much Ado About Nothing. And I say much ado about nothing because all the statements he is struggling to make and explain.
No, I'm not struggling.
Yesterday, when he made his statement and called for an inquiry, the minority side got up and supported him and said, let's have an inquiry. We don't object to an inquiry. Let's have an inquiry. We
That's a
didn't
positive
object.
thing to hear.
We didn't object. He's here.
If we objected to that, yes.
If we objected to an inquiry,
yes, we did.
Wait, hold on for me.
You
did did not
listen,
agree.
There were five.
This is a statement of fact. I want us to correct this.
From
Did they
NDC,
agree or not?
It was only one.
Only one person.
Only one person out of the five contributors from the NDC side.
Okay.
he wasn't listening.
You have the tapes.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say you were not
Even
listening.
yesterday, you played it on point.
Point
listen
blank.
carefully.
Absolutely.
Listen carefully. The objections people made yesterday was not to
The inquiry.
the inquiry. The objections made yesterday is the improper imputation that he sought to make in his statement. That was the objection. So, first and foremost, contributors from our side thought they needed to clarify the issues. First and foremost, we in NDC have said, look, no public official under our government took any money from Airbus.
Okay.
We made that statement very clear. Secondly, we're saying that if you read the judgment doesn't say that a government official took money from them.
But the matter of influence doesn't concern you. The fact that that person could. I'm saying since you are sticking with.
That's the next point.
That's
the next point. That
he didn't receive money, but position of influence matters.
That's the next point that we sought to address. That they claim that their business practice involved having intermediaries, and they engaged an intermediary who was a British citizen, but whose brother was high-ranking
elected official.
So the
of
brother
Ghana.
too is intermediary. He's
Are you
intermediary
getting
one.
the point?
Yes.
Please.
You let
see,
him
that
go
is
on.
where the issue is. Nowhere in the judgment
Yes.
did they say that individual one was an intermediary.
Yes.
No, they said
No way.
individual one was an influential
Exactly.
government
That
official,
is it.
elected government
So
official
the effort
between
by
2009
the
2012,
MPP
2016.
and spokespersons of the MPP and sympathizers of the cause of the MPP to create an impression that individual one was an intermediary is what we sought to clarify.
Okay.
And said the judgment doesn't say so.
Okay.
No, but I
And
didn't-
so
my statement
we
didn't-
don't have
He hasn't impugned that to you.
an issue with an inquiry. In any case, the president has already directed the Office of Special Prosecutor, who coincidentally was the Attorney General, under whose auspices the legal opinion advising in favor of the acquisition of the aircrafts was written.
At least.
So we don't have
all.
we don't have a problem with an inquiry either by the special prosecutor or by Parliament. Indeed, it was people on his side who got up and said that Parliament also having to set up a machinery to carry out an inquiry will undermine the president and what
No,
the president
not
has already
undermine. No,
directed.
that's not what
and therefore,
none of them said will undermine.
Akoto,
No, not
Akoto mentioned the
no,
fact that
no, that was
listen, Honorable Akoto mentioned the issue of that the president had set up a process, has put in place a process.
But did not
So
say
why
will
should
undermine.
Oh,
He did not
Okay.
say that.
Okay.
But he can infer.
he can infer that
But
is the
infer it,
concern.
but not undermine
That is the
it.
concern. So we shouldn't go ahead to set up a committee. Otherwise, our side supported the setting up a committee to carry out an inquiry, and let's see what the inquiry will reveal.
Okay.
And indeed, members
Your side
on the
did not
floor
support. Your
pointed
side
at the
did not
parliamentarians who actually flew to Airbus, inspected the factory, participated in the discussions and the assessments. Some of them even came with toy aircrafts, which was brought to Parliament yesterday and put on display for us to see. So it is not as if, Parliament has never been involved in the acquisition of the aircraft. And the Hansard was brought, and the debate that took place was copiously referred to yesterday, and we said, please go ahead, set up a committee, and let's inquire into the matter. And some of the MPs who participated should get ready to also appear before the committee and then give evidence. So there's no dispute. So I don't even understand what we are discussing. That's why I said much ado about nothing. We have no objection to you carrying out an inquiry. So
let me ask you something.
So what is the issue here?
The
Tell me
position
what
of
the
the
issue
NDC has
is.
changed on this table.
No,
that is his opinion. He does not speak for
listen
the
carefully.
NDC.
If it's his
Listen carefully.
opinion, that is fine.
Listen
but the-
carefully.
The,
That is
the
his
position
opinion.
Listen
as
carefully.
carried by the minority yesterday was
Listen carefully.
extreme
Who
discomfort
was sitting
of the statement. And that was
who was sitting
highly conspicuous.
in the stead of the leader of the minority? Who was sitting in the stead of the leader of the
You tell her.
Was it not Honorable Inusa? Was it not Inusa?
There were 5 contributors from NDC.
Listen, was it not
There were
Inusa?
5 contributors from the NDC.
Excuse me. It was Inusa who took the seat of the minority leader because the minority leader was not in the chamber at that time. And when it came to the final position of the NDC in the House, as stated by our acting leader at that time, we said we have no objection to a committee being set up to inquire into the matter. Okay. So go ahead. Whereupon, the speaker gave his ruling and agreed with those from your side who advocated that we should not set up a committee because the president has already referred the matter to the Office of Special Prosecutor. So what is the issue? There's no issue.
Okay.
Now let's get to the substantive issues.
Yeah, because I want to
what you are interested in. The personality of individual one.
Wait, hold on. He's challenging a statement of fact here. What are you challenging?
You see, we had
today we are in Parliament.
I read a statement, and I have to be very, very.
No, what are you disagreeing with? That's what
the disagreement is the fact that NDC unanimously supported.
No, but he's saying
inquiry.
That and parliamentary process
imputing certain things to the majority, which they did not say.
Okay.
The majority never said in any of the records that Parliament constituting an inquiry will undermine the work of the Special Prosecutor, because every person that spoke on the majority side was mindful of the fact that Parliament is an independent institution, independent of the executive. Independent of the executive.
So how did the speaker come to his judgment?
Which is why
and the position.
How did the speaker get the ruling and the position that the MPP or the majority, my colleagues, held was that an inquiry is important. An inquiry is very important to be conducted into the matter. However, at such a point in time, let us give the opportunity for the Special Prosecutor. Let us give the opportunity. So it is not to say that the fact that the Special Prosecutor, you are a lawyer and you appreciate that, that these two facts are not the same. That if Parliament should conduct inquiry, it will undermine the work of the Special Prosecutor. It is different from Parliament just standing this down for the period and to observe at a point
the effect is the same.
But see, I must just say this and I conclude that when the statement was read, I think initially the position of the minority, yes, I have a copy here, I can lend you one. The position of the minority was extreme discomfort. And some of the words that came...
you see, I'm going to stop you there because you refuse to allow him to infer. I will not allow you to read body language.
Very well, very well. But the records are there, your cameras were there. Now, eventually, I must commend Honorable Inusa Fuseni. I must commend him. And that was the position I was expecting from the contributors on the side of the minority to have responded at the beginning.
But because at the end, his position is what matters.
No, not in the end, not one position that matters. In the end, every member of Parliament's position matters. And so it's captured in Hansard. So you see, when the moment the statement came, I was expecting that minority would have overwhelmingly thrown their support. Oh, yes.
Why would they do that?
Yes, why? Because they should be interested in... There are the alleged indictments of government officials within the period 2009 to 2016. And so they should be interested in exoneration.
You are committing the same offense you are accusing him of.
Inquiry.
You are imposing your expectations.
You guys.
Let's go to the statement.
No, you guys.
These were the concerning.
It is not your place to say anything.
But they did not want that question until eventually Honorable Inusa Fuseni navigated well. And I must point that out. He navigated well, and then straightened what had to be straightened, and then landed and said, "Now let's go for."
Now you're asking us to evaluate the whole position.
It's important.
Raise your concern.
You see,
then I go to Sydney.
We challenge you on a number of issues, but the conclusions of all our people who spoke effectively was that we really didn't have an issue with that. Ablakwa was the other person who spoke. And Ablakwa stated our commitment to an inquiry. We had no objection to an inquiry. Ablakwa also said the same thing. This is what you said. In corroboration of the same case, reference was made to the indictment of some Ghanaian officials who allegedly were recipients of bribes admitted by Airbus SE to have paid as contained in the deferred prosecution agreement of the United States District Court.
Allegedly.
These were some of the things that we said, look.
Allegedly.
Even the report itself doesn't allege that a public officer received bribe.
Yes.
Even the judgment doesn't allege that. So your statement was full of inaccuracies, misrepresentations, and attempt to turn the judgment upside down to misinform the public. And those were our responses. But at the end,
we are all clear.
We agreed with you that let's set up.
Okay, now the two of you are speaking. Let me go to Lawyer Paul. Now, Lawyer Paul, do you get the feeling that two political parties have shifted focus from perhaps
I have done it for you.
what we should all be interested in? Does the judgment show wrongdoing on our side? Because it's not about who did what, but we agree that something wrong took place. Because NDC in their defense is, well, you can't, the judgment does not say explicitly that somebody took a bribe. And once you cannot say that, well, what are you saying? Then the intermediary is not a government official. He's a private business person doing his own thing. But there are those who also say, should we not be worried by the ethical parts of this, the moral parts of this, when it comes to dealing with corruption generally in government space?
Well, I think if you ask me, I think it's rather interesting that we have to wait till almost 10 years or 7 years for a foreign entity to give, or two different foreign entities, but two different jurisdictions to bring out matters like this before we are to even commence an investigation. Judgment or no judgment, allegations have been made. The judgment is only a guideline. And for me, I'm even worried about the content of the judgment in relation to Ghana. Judgments don't make allegations. They make facts.
Factual claims, yeah.
That is why the cause, and I make so and so. That is how judgment are. So if these foreign entities are also interested in, and they are, in ensuring that levels of corruption and bribery and so on are reduced, then they should have done us a bigger favor by mentioning these so-called
specific names,
officials, giving out disclosing their identity and the specific act that they engage in, which may have been some of the grounds on which these huge monies are going to be paid to them.
To help you with that, if you read the Southwark courts,
Yes.
they explained
Why
that even the law that deals with human rights in their jurisdiction,
They couldn't publish the names.
they can't publish names because, for instance, there are human rights attributions to this. There's a China version. In China, they will shoot you for this. It's not an offense that you get a
They will shoot you because a foreign court has said you have engaged in some
corruption.
No, but they will take you through a judicial process. I can't believe that any allegation against the Chinese.
It is in the judgment. Go and read it. Go and read it.
It's not a mere allegation. It's a judicial pronouncement.
I'm saying that it is not good enough.
There were over 100 countries involved.
That is what I'm saying. That it is not. I understand that better than you. I'm saying that.
So the judge explained that based on that, she was not going to make public those names because there are investigations that will happen in other jurisdictions. Yes. Now that will affect fairness.
Yes. Absolutely so.
Number
for
one,
those persons.
the point is that So the point is that the mere fact that they mention that we find that so and so person with this identity was a government official who engaged in a wrongdoing, it's not binding on us. Criminal decisions or even jurisdictions are territorial.
Yes.
Except where there are other exceptions that are given. And certain crimes are international.
Yes.
For example, drug. That's why the US can come here, take a Ghanaian from here and prosecute the Ghanaian who has engaged in, let's say, narcotic or illicit drug and try him there. The fact that if they had mentioned or given the identity of these people in the judgment, it's not a ground here for them to be taken to Nsawam and imprison them. We have to investigate, first of all, that the person is innocent until proven guilty. That right.
But that guarantee cannot be given for all the countries involved.
Well, I'm saying that. I am not very sure, you've been in China, that merely accusing someone of engaging in even a crime, they take you to that trial or any judicial process, they take you to the stakes and shoot you up. That can never be.
At that level, they like scapegoatism a lot.
Well, pardon me, but then the point is, I am yet to be convinced that the Chinese institutions or authorities will just punish someone who has not even been given a hearing.
Okay.
So my point is that
let me ask this: if in the past week Malaysia, Sri Lanka, China included, have rounded up names of persons, they have rounded up persons. Let me put it that way, who are alleged to have been involved in some of these acts. I'm certain that investigating agencies reached out to either the Department of Justice or the SFO in the UK and got the names, because the names are known to them. It's not like they don't know who these people are. So how did they start arresting persons there?
That is the second level.
For us, our duty.
Listen, that's the second level.
Just reach out to them and collect the names.
Diplomacy. But then the point really I was going to make is that, number one, Parliament itself have the duty to investigate this matter. Mind you, as you read, Article 181 gives Parliament the power to approve these transactions, and Parliament did approve this transaction. So, prima facie, the transaction on the face of it, by the principle of official act being presumed to have complied with all the appropriate, if you like, legal regimes, there's nothing, some will argue, wrong with that transaction. But fraud vitiates everything. Fraud vitiates even a judgment of the court. And it is, and that's.
But do you read fraud in the judgment?
No. I'm laying foundation. Allow me.
Okay, sorry. So
that you can go before the very judge who gave a judgment in favor of another person to set aside the same judgment on grounds of fraud. If indeed there has been bribery, because if the people came to Parliament and say that one aircraft is $150 million, and it turned out that it was padded, and so that some intermediaries, or one or the other, will be able to then bribe officials of this country. That is, if that is it is the duty of Parliament to go back and undo what they did because of the allegation of, and the pardon and the deceit, if any, is established. It renders that approval itself no nullity. You understand? So it is not good enough for not this Parliament, but I mean the Parliament at the time, and this current one, to just push the matter at the doorstep of the executive. I don't see how there will be any conflict between what the executive has done. For me, let me tell you, what I was looking out for is not for the Special Prosecution's Office. Of course,
the Special Prosecutor.
Prosecutor is not just that person. To conduct this whole exercise in chambers. There's nothing wrong with setting up a special investigation team, SIT. Look, these banking matters that are coming up. There's an SIT. The investigation into the death of, they should just pardon me, the judges. There was an SIT of some nature. And sit in public and conduct the inquiry. I'm not calling for even commission of inquiry because of the tendency for people to hide under it and say you can't prosecute me because I have gone through commissions of inquiry. But an SIT of certain nature that will sit in public, full view of people, anybody who has information going there through that quasi-judicial process to give what they know about it. So if we don't know government official 1, can the government also tell us government official 5 if there's one? The then government. You understand? So if we don't know one, it is the duty of the government to tell us if there is a government official 5.
Okay.
Tell us his identity.
Your time is up.
So that in all this, we will be very clear in our minds and also follow up on events. Because I listened to Mr. Semin Sabus yesterday that before the 2009, when before the Kufuor government left, there had been this proposal to buy these aircrafts. And the argument on the side by the minority then was that, Ghanaians need more money for water, for basic necessities, the mundane matters. So President Kufuor is also leaving after almost 8 years. This was it was about 7 months to the end of his term, 2008. And they listened and shelved it. And then it was immediately introduced, or maybe a year or a couple of years later, it was immediately introduced, and these processes started. And now you hear some of them raising matters concerning doubts they have raised at that time. If these doubts were founded, and some of them are now in government, why has it taken you all this while, at least 3 years since you came to government, for a foreign jurisdiction to now bring out these matters, and you now want to raise issues? So some people in public offices failed us. And so for me, I feel it's so disconcerting for them to now be pontificating. Of course, I mean, better late than never, I can admit that. Let the investigations go on. But anybody who has any information should be able to provide it in the public view and public hearing.
But the first point of call should be the Department of Justice and the Crown Court. Just give us the names. This one,
that one, I believe it can even be done diplomatically.
And that's all we need, actually. Is that not all we need to be?
But they may not be just the only. We should not concentrate on just those one media intermediary 5 and so on. There should be a comprehensive. We can put the judgment aside and do a comprehensive investigation into all this. Otherwise, we put ourselves in a pigeonhole of that judgment and avoid going into related but important matters.
Sydney.
Yeah.
You said you wanted to go last. So you go last and then I go back to my MPs. You're very angry today.
Yes.
You see, because we are behaving like, I don't know, it's not illiteracy, but what we are doing is it's intellectual dishonesty.
Okay.
All right, and it's right across the board, from minority in parliament to majority in parliament to executive.
Okay.
You remember a young lady called Nayeli Ametepe?
I've heard the name. Yes.
You remember? Nayeli and her and the cocaine issue. We didn't arrest her here in Ghana. She went to the UK.
VIP, right?
VIP transition, and she was arrested there, tried there, jailed there.
Yes.
Ghana has never seen anything wrong with it. She wasn't tried here. The UK decided that she was a cocaine smuggler.
Yeah, but hold it. But factually, I think, and Honorable, you can correct me, she held an Austrian passport and claimed Austrian citizenship at the time. So
she also has a Ghanaian.
Yes, but at that point, she claimed Austrian citizenship.
But I think subsequently there has been a judicial process concerning her property, her assets.
Yes, here. But I'm just saying at that point, she claimed Austrian citizenship. So she was Austrian.
She wasn't any Austrian. She's a Ghanaian. What Austrian is called Nayeli Ametepe? Give me a break.
Oh, give me a break.
Give me a break. And she has a Ghanaian passport. And she has a Ghanaian passport. She was born here. We can identify her place of birth.
I'm just saying, I want to state we are dealing with facts, because I recall that I think Madam Hanatete was foreign minister. This question was put to her, and they said we had extended a hand to her because she had been arrested in a foreign jurisdiction, and the woman had said that I am Austrian, so deal with me that way.
Look, my friend,
I'm just putting facts there.
Fine.
My friend,
go on.
This is where my intellectual dishonesty comes from. At the end of
my job is to put facts
at the end of the day. The fact also is that she was born here in Ghana and she was christened the name Nayeli. All right, that also is a fact.
She assumed Austrian citizenship.
All right, she can assume whatever she wants.
Sydney, you are Sydney.
Okay,
Sydney, go on.
the fact of the matter,
But you're Ghanaian, right?
the fact of the matter is, Case David is a very Ghanaian name. Let's not go there, Kra.
Go on.
Fact of the matter is, we never, ever tried her for handling an illegal substance. All right? But it was confirmed that she had handled an illegal substance by the UK because she transitioned it and it belonged to her. But over here, Ghana, we didn't see that. There were also other people who were complicit in her transition. There were people who managed to get her VIP treatment. There were people who managed to get the cocaine through. There were people who were also supportive of her, etc., etc., etc. We didn't do anything.
Okay.
All right? Now, I have been involved with investigations with the Serious Fraud Office in the UK in the while back. When I was in England, one of the key things that my firm did, I used to work then with Deloitte and Touche, or Deloitte Haskins and Sells. We were one of the key investigators for many cases with the Serious Fraud Office. And I've testified a couple of times for them. They are so thorough in everything they do and will never, never issue a statement unless they are absolutely certain of who they were charging and what they were doing. The NDC, all right, can wriggle as much as they want and use this cover-up. Nobody's name is mentioned, etc. Trust me, the names
They're
are
saying
there.
no government official was paid a bribe.
The names are there. Airbus says they paid a bribe. Why would they even come and sit there and say we paid a bribe to a Ghanaian official if
They paid
nobody
a bribe to
received
a
a
Ghanaian
bribe?
intermediary.
My friend, I say you can do your intellectual.
No, but those are the facts.
intellectual cover-up.
Yes, please, those are the facts.
Point that to abuse.
No, those are the facts.
Influence. You see,
Those are the facts.
Godfred,
I want us to stick with that without the Sydney, hold on, listen to me. Listen to me. Without the judgment, we don't have a discussion. So we cannot suddenly, outside of the judgment, claim knowledge that we don't have. Let's stick with the judgment.
You now have a discussion because a statement has been written and no specific names have been allocated to the particular labels that
I'm
have
not
been put
interested in
there.
that. I'm saying this. It says that
You should be interested in it because at the end of the day, the names you yourself said, somewhere there, all right, somewhere there in the UK, all right, in the Crown Court and in Southwark, the names are there.
Yeah.
All right? And we should be able to use international protocol, whoever it is, to get those names. And we will get them. Fact of the matter is, between 2009 and 2015, as stated in the factual report,
Absolutely.
okay, which was issued between 2009 and 2016, there was only one government in this country.
Certainly.
We didn't have two governments, so you can't muddy the waters by saying, oh, government official one could have been this person or it could have been that person in the MPP or in the NDC. You have to accept
individual one.
That in 2009, government official one or individual one, whoever it is,
individual one,
whoever it is, it is either
gentlemen, please.
It is either
it's an influential government.
It is either
elected.
It is either going to be. It is either going to be.
General.
It is either going to be the president of the republic or some official who was influential enough, and that person would be in the NDC government.
Yes,
absolutely.
All right.
Yes,
it's a member of the NDC party who was involved in this scandal,
assuming
and
that
this corruption.
Yes.
Okay. Without doubt.
Assuming it
now, simple matter. The MPP wants to taint John Mahama if they can, with this scandal, because at the end of the day, what they want to do is to cut his political legs. After all, we are heading for an election. They want to win. The NDC are trying to wriggle out of it. Whichever way we play it is going to come out in one way or the other. If the names are not revealed in the next week or two, they'll be revealed in the next 4 to 5 months or 6 months. Somebody will find out by all means.
Without a doubt.
So whether you like it or not, whether you want to play the game and pretend that, oh, no names are mentioned and therefore it is vague and we don't know who it is. Listen, we all know who it is.
We do now.
All right? You can infer. You can circumvent the issue of matters
Do you have
once.
a feeling the MPP, let me put it that way, since they are the ones, are really interested in knowing who this is, or they also want to play political football with it?
It's political football. It's political football. At the end of the day, MPP doesn't care. All right? What they are focused on is how we can get rid of John Mahama or whoever it is that is there, so we can continue to run this government for another 4 years. And this is just political cha-cha. It is all it is.
Yes, so
all right?
The statements
it is all it is.
are all in achieving these objectives.
No, that is
if,
not.
If at the end of the day, if at the end of the day, it turns out that government official one is John Mahama, all right? Or let me put it the other way. If it turns out that it was Evans Atta Mills, okay, because they were the two heads. If government official one means the presidential tag.
2009 and 2016. In that,
if it turns out that it is Atta Mills, there's nothing you can do. It's finished. The man is dead and gone. If it turns out to be John Mahama loses his opportunity to win the election again. Not that he can ever win, but this will kill it completely. End of the day, the MPP will achieve a major objective, which is to get the next 4 years in power.
If it's not him also.
If it is not him, it will be somebody else in the NDC.
I'm saying that the benefits to him, like has happened to my good friend Trump, politically, they also favor him. I thought that was the second angle.
If we are going to go into a Trump discussion, it will be a different thing.
I know you.
How we read it will be a different matter. So at the end of the day, maybe what Ayarika is saying is right. Maybe it's much ado about nothing. Maybe. But it could also be a merchant of Venice.
Yes.
Everybody wants their pound of flesh.
Yes.
So we'll get there.
Economy
without spilling blood.
Yeah. So let me come in quickly.
Okay, quickly come in.
Fundamentally, whilst I associate largely with some of the comments submitted by Sydney, I must also state that the NPP is not just politically interested, but we are interested in redeeming the international embarrassment called Ghana. We have only one Ghana, and the Ghana we live in. Recently, there was a Moody's rating, and like I indicated, no event in the international system is without significance. And so when you have an international judicial pronouncement in the USA and in the UK, and that have caused serious international embarrassment to the image of Ghana, and we can simply purge the name of Ghana if there is no complicity existing on any official that is of Ghanaian descent, as the judicial pronouncement made reference to, and that can easily be unraveled by inquiry. What should resist that?
But I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question.
And I must clarify my
before you
motivation
clarify
here.
I want to ask you a question. You see, because in my engagements this week, I discovered that people really want to get to the bottom of this, and by that, the
That's
general
my
public.
only
And
interest.
yes, I'm saying perhaps you can help me. I don't know the answer to this, but could you, as a member of parliament, in your position, as interested as you are, not have emailed, contacted the SFO yourself, and said, I'm a member of the Ghanaian parliament, so described by ABCD. I need the information on ABCD based on this. Can you give it to me?
But why would I even want to explore my individual, options when I have a legitimate institutional option?
But that is also legit. That is the legitimate.
But I'm saying that it is even much more legitimate that I belong to an institution that is an arm of government, an independent arm of government at that, and we are rightly clothed with every inquisition powers. Why wouldn't I explore that first? And it will even be easier. Whatever a technical prerequisite and whatever constraint there are. If an institution as Parliament, with all the gravitas is conducting inquiry.
But now it has been set aside.
It hasn't.
No, but
It hasn't been set aside
I think what he's saying is right.
Why should I want to explore my private?
No, but now it's been set aside.
Because
No.
I don't have individual interest in this matter.
It will weave its way. It will weave its way through.
People of Ghana who are interested in this matter.
Yeah, but you represent the people of Asin South first.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. And the people of Asin South are interested. That we
So
voted
reach
into
out on
Parliament.
behalf of the people of Asin South.
And
Absolutely.
all NDC members are interested.
And they're interested. The NDC
And
members
his
are
non-NDC
interested.
members are interested.
NDC members
It is more likely.
interested.
It is more likely that the senior fraud
the name
office.
points your regime.
It's more likely the senior fraud office will respond to the institution of Parliament than to respond to him as an individual MP.
Okay, that's why I asked.
All right. Yeah, they will respond to
So are
Parliament.
you faulting the Speaker of Ghana's Parliament
Listen,
now?
whichever way we do it, whichever way we do it, this thing will come out. The names will come out. The names will come out either because of institutional inquiry, or else it will come out because somebody will leak it. Somebody will leak it
And
from
most
the
likely
UK.
to be leaked.
It will come out. Whichever way you
There is
play,
even
it
a
will
private
come out.
citizen who has invoked, like the
Can we
UK
talk
has
about the banking
the
crisis?
right to information bill? The right to information. They have those people are already invoking that. So, like Sydney said, this is not far fetched. The identities will be unraveled. But
since
again,
you've
I
mentioned
must
it,
state
let
that-
me
Let's conclude my
the
take on this
Speaker
matter
of
before we move
Parliament's
to
ruling
the
minute.
is not
Okay,
in doubt.
a
And
minute.
I absolutely associate with the ruling, the very apt, wise ruling of the Speaker of Parliament.
OSP
He
should
did
finish.
not dismiss the inquiry.
That is not in doubt.
Yes, he's saying that let us stand it down. Standing it down does not dismiss it. What it means that even tomorrow we could revisit it.
Okay.
What it means that even by Monday we could, as a parliament, take a decision
Reverend, we
to
understand that.
constitute an ad hoc
Were you
committee
a
to
student?
go into
Were you a
it.
student politician?
Let me just...
Yes.
Were you the SRC?
Let me come to
You were
Sydney,
noobs as well.
Sydney,
Sydney.
But you were a student. of the
Sydney.
SRC. Your language is
Sydney.
is
The
too
lady,
much of a bureaucrat.
Naili was an assumed name.
Now you know what?
Was an assumed name. It wasn't her
Of who?
real name.
So what was her real name?
Rudy Appiah.
Eh?
Rudy Appiah was her real name.
So
Just because
Again,
you
facts.
assume that you knew where she was born in the Gap
she's called
community.
Nayeli Abetepe. Whether she has seen the name or she
Let
has
me
seen
get
the
to
name,
the
she was
let me get to the
Nayeli.
issue. Let me get to the issue of one.
Quickly.
We detest the effort to misrepresent the facts as stated by the court. We support any discussion of the matter, but we urge that a discussion should be founded on what the court actually said. And I'm happy that the host read it and he has been trying to correct everybody on this panel as to what really are the facts. That is all that we've been saying.
They're here.
As for who is
They are here.
intermediary 5,
They are
who is
printed.
intermediary 7, who is intermediary 8
Have no official
and 9, who is individual 1, we in the NDC really, we don't care because our fundamental position is that no NDC official took money from
Airbus.
anybody, Airbus or whatever, as bribe for
But
the
your
purchase
relations?
of the aircraft. That is it. And what, you see, you must understand the context of that case.
1 minute more.
The context of that case really is taking on a business practice of Airbus, how they engage their intermediaries and agents to assist them secure businesses across the globe, and what those intermediaries did. That basically is what is an issue. Now, if Ghana is mentioned, and then somebody wants to go and find exactly who the intermediary was and what the intermediary actually did and how the intermediary actually influenced procurement. Listen, as we speak today, are you people telling me that nobody who is in any way related to a government official in this country is doing business and may bring his business interest to the knowledge of that government official and seek to pursue it? Is that the position?
No, but
You see,
when the
let's
bribe
wait-
is
let's
established
wait-
to have been paid,
No,
and Airbus conceding
no
being
bribe
fined
has been
$3.9
established.
billion.
Listen, no
So
bribe.
what was a fine of $3.9 billion for?
No bribe has been established to have been paid to a government official. no bribe has been established to have been paid to a government. And those are the basic facts.
Okay.
So I think
we are going on. We are going back and forth.
The fact
I'm not like a point for me.
in the same vein,
that the payment of bribe was paid.
The last 5 minutes of my show is dedicated to Sydney Kingsley.
Why?
It's banking.
Who was influential in the decision of the purchase of the aircraft.
Okay.
That is a factual.
Sydney.
Factual.
The last 5 minutes, and I know you do a government lizard to talk
by all
about
means.
to talk about bond. So okay, then the last 5 minutes talk about your bond.
Let's talk about the bond and let's talk about the banking crisis. This
You have 5 minutes.
I can't say something.
This we have banking crisis. We have discussed it over and over and over and over. So it's not. Do you want to talk about banking
No, if
crisis?
it's only bond, go on, take it.
No. The bond thing is simple.
Okay.
It's just.
He just wants to acknowledge the bond.
We have to acknowledge these successes.
Why is it a success?
It's
We've
a
got to borrow.
There's nobody in Africa who has ever been able to issue a 40-year bond of $3 billion.
I don't get the sense of pride.
Why?
Milestonic.
Why? Don't you realize how many barriers are being broken by doing this? First of all, the stigmatization of Africa as a continent that doesn't pay back its loans. And we've been successfully able to do it for several years. When this government issued the first $750 million bond, all right, when they came into power, it was considered by the opposition then as reckless. All right, should never be done, and it will collapse the economy. The economy survived. The NDC then came back on the back of it, and they were able to also issue and raise significant other bonds, much more than the $750 million. Okay? At one point, they were even going for a $2 billion bond. Okay? But if you are able on the African continent, as they call it, a developing economy bond, and you are able to convince the international market to accept a 40-year bond. 40 years means that you are asking them to put confidence in your ability to keep this country working for 40 years without failure.
Well, we held
so
the record
we are prepared to do that.
It's not like we held the record.
Record for what?
For this, we were 31. We did a 31-year bond.
And we've done a 40-year bond. And the next thing you are going to do will be a century bond, a half century, and then a century bond. You have to accept, all right, that, excuse me, the success of any country as you go forward is your ability to be able to generate the confidence of your international partners for them to support you as you go forward. Look, we try and belittle certain things. But if you want to develop a railway, if you want to develop road infrastructure, if you want to be able to get industrial support and get industrialization, build industrial parks and move on so people will have the opportunity to be able to work and generate income and be independent of government largesse, a lot of it depends on how you manage the economy. All right? Forget about this crap of let's seek ye first the political kingdom. That's a waste of time. And we have wasted years of our lives, all right, believing in that mantra and trying to follow that mantra. Any country that is successful, that is stable, and that is carrying on its work independent of what government is doing has always been able to manage its economy very, very well. Why is the US, the UK, France, Germany so successful? Their economies are strong and solid.
Yes.
It's not because of their political stability. They're not worried about the politics. The politics is just decoration. At the end of the day, what bothers everybody when they wake up in the morning is, can I get food? Can I get my petrol? Can I pay for my children's school fees? That is what is important.
And this is something that this 40-year bond will help us with.
It is something that the stability of the economy will help. And it's stabilizing the economy and making the economy grow, which is the important issue. All the stuff we are doing.
But I guess the doubt in this comes from the fact that our politics and political strategy when it comes to the economy is really inconsistent, isn't it, Sydney?
Very inconsistent.
It's based on the mood of the finance minister.
And not only that, but it's also based on the adversity that we create with the political divides as we go forward.
Exactly. That's why that's why I don't see the excitement of this. Your
you should see the excitement because your economy is working.
So why are we not also considering the reasons that make us go and borrow and even borrow for 40 years?
That's a conversation you and Sydney can have. Time is up. Let me read messages. Airbus bribery scandal. BBC had access to the Airbus bribery report in 2016. That is why a reporter, That is why a reporter, during an interview with government official one, Citizen Francis, I'm not going to go through this one. A few more, and then we will be out of here. Okay, Awudiye Bernard from Medina says, I'm getting together, says that political appointees are not willing and ready to serve the country with all their hearts, souls, and minds. That is why we are finding it difficult, if not impossible, to know the whereabouts of these excavators. That is to say, patriotism is lacking. I like Mahama Yariga's submissions today, and I pray, I hope you continue to behave that way when his political party gets the chance to return to power. That is for you.
A reasonable expectation for you, right?
You'll still be a young man by then.
Kwesi Ronald in Agona says, Galamsey fight is very dear to the president to a point that he puts his presidency on the line. What I know so far is that the alleged actors in the missing excavator uproar have been handed over to the CID. At this juncture, we will only ask the investigative bodies to diligently fast-track the process and bring an end to this issue. And there are those who are also just asking the question, do we honestly think that Horace Usi is the sole name behind this? Well, anyway, it's been an interesting conversation. It's been an interesting program today.
There was a time when borrowing was an offense.
Let me use that my guest on the big issue. My name is Godfred Akoto Boafo. Have a good weekend.